Hello, friend. Thank you for coming back and welcome to Mindful Chatting. If you're new here, I'm Kristen. I'm a therapist, doctoral student, and researcher. And today we're diving into the next mini series of our summer series of ADHD with social disconnection and loneliness. We are on episode 5, and we're diving into something that doesn't get enough attention in either relationships or ADHD care: executive dysfunction and what it does to your relationships. This isn't about forgetting to take the trash out. This is about why you shut down mid conversation, why following through feels impossible, why texting back feels like a mountain, and why people you care about sometimes feel distant, hurt, or confused. I want to name this gently but clearly. ADHD can absolutely impact emotional trust in relationships, and that doesn't make you bad. It means your brain's executive system is overloaded. And today we're going to unpack what that actually means and how to build connection in the middle of it. So grab your comfy drink, let's go. One of the most painful things I've experienced is being told I'm unreliable by someone I love. Not because I was being careless, but because my brain literally didn't hold on to the information. I forget a plan, I miss a text, or agree to something and then totally space until it's too late. And to them, it feels like I didn't care. But what they didn't see was the shame spiral that I go into afterwards. ADHD isn't about attention, it's about self regulation across time. It affects how we plan, prioritize, start, sustain, and finish really anything. And that includes connection. I wasn't distant, I was dysregulated, and that is difference. So let's briefly go over executive functioning. So, in my dissertation, I wanted to explore how inattentive and hyperactive symptoms relate to social disconnection. But underneath those symptoms is really that bigger culprit, which is the executive dysfunctioning. So, executive dysfunctioning includes your working memory deficits, which is like forgetting the details mid discussion. Then it also includes your poor task initiation, so like struggling to respond or start a really hard conversation. It also impacts your emotional regulation, which is like snapping or withdrawing or crying too quickly. You also have time blindness. This is where you can miss events, show up late, overbook, or overcommit. These aren't personality flaws, they're neurological. But in relationships, especially romantic or caregiving ones, these issues show up like this: inconsistency, perceived flakiness, avoidance, overwhelm during conflict. Many women with ADHD report feeling like they're constantly failing to show up. And here's what's worse: many don't even realize that ADHD is actually the reason why. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about people with ADHD is that we're selfish or avoidant, but often we're kind of stuck in a freeze response. We want to reply, we want to explain, we want to fix it, but our brain just can't organize the steps to get there. And when people don't understand executive dysfunction, they interpret our silence or our inconsistency as rejection. And that's how we end up with relationships that just slowly fade. Not because we don't care, but because we're used all of our energy just surviving in our brain. And the guilt, it makes it even harder to re engage. This is why so many ADHD women describe their relationships as like an all or nothing. They're either overcompensating or disappearing. Not because they're dramatic, but because emotional regulation and sustained effort are deeply affected by executive functioning. You're not bad at relationships. You're trying to love people with a nervous system that's overloaded. It doesn't work like that. That's why we freeze. That's why we don't respond. And then we feel so guilty re engaging with them again. So, what do we do with all this? We stop telling ourselves the story that we're flaky, unreliable, or unlovable, and we start learning the real story that your brain filters information differently, that transitions, planning, and prioritization are harder for you, that your memory isn't broken, it's just overloaded. You're not ghosting because you don't care. You're overwhelmed and you haven't had systems modeled for re entry. This is where the healing begins by recognizing that executive dysfunction is a relationship barrier, not a relationship death sentence. Once we name it, we can start explaining it. And once we explain it, we can start asking for what we need. So, if this episode feels like your story and you're a woman between 18 and 40 experiencing ADHD symptoms, I'd love to invite you to participate in my research. The more stories we collect, the more language we'll have for experiences like this. Your insight could help reshape how ADHD is supported in women, especially in relationships. So, in our next week's episode, we're diving into a really misunderstood topic: rejection sensitivity and masking. We'll talk about why so many women with ADHD live in fear of being misunderstood and how that leads to chronic people pleasing, social exhaustion, and emotional isolation. Until then, if you've ever thought, why can't I just follow through? Or why do I disappear when things get hard? Please hear me now. You're not broken. You're not a bad partner or friend. You're living in a brain that needs more grace, more structure, and more self-compassion than the world ever taught you. Let's change that, and let's do it together. Thanks for joining me.